Wow. Why does it feel a bit like Severance to me?
You want to experience it?
Hi, I'm Adila.
I'm Shan.
I'm Dionne.
And I'm Sharon.
And you're listening to Kiasu Design Live.
Hello. Welcome back to KSZL. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm waving in the air.
Yeah.
We hope all of you have been swell as we approach
Swell.
have been well. Have been
Swell is the word.
If you mean
Swell
sweltering
from the heat. Yes.
It's hot.
repeat again. Hi everyone, we hope all of you have been well as we approach the half-year mark of 2025.
Wow.
We know it's been some time from our last episode with a featured guest, so we're happy to be back at it. Sharon, any thoughts?
I'm just happy that we are recording again. Life has been a bit busy, so this is a nice breather. I really enjoy recording with everyone and meeting new designers, like the two designers we have in today's episode. Woohoo!
Yeah. Woohoo.
We will hear more from them soon. Also, we want to give a big thank you to Hanli and Yun for your generous donation on our Ko-fi, Ko-fi. Your support helped cover our podcast hosting for March and May this year. And we're truly grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a starter, Adila, quick question for you.
Yeah.
So when you hear design in defense, what pops into your head?
I would think of designer superheroes. Designers who are often busy trying to defend their designs.
But
How about you?
I think it would be cool, right, if the designers design an interface being used in like those armed machineries. You know?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that is what I hope we will get into today. But regardless, I'm excited to hear what design in defense means in the real world.
Yes.
But jokes aside, so design in the defense sector is very real in Singapore and in other countries as well. It's important and also turns out it is pretty cool. So today we are talking to two designers who are shaping the way people in defense work with digital tools every day.
It doesn't sound like your normal designers who are always working under client side or under retail side, right? It's something very niche. We're very excited to welcome Dionne and Sharon from CSIT, Center for Strategic Infocom Technologies under MINDEF, Ministry of Defense. Dionne started out as an analyst at MINDEF before making the big leap into design. Obviously, the transition wasn't easy, but her deep domain knowledge turned out to be quite advantageous in her current role, as she will explain more further later. Because, let's be honest, enterprise design is not for everyone. I'm speaking from experience as well.
I'm also resonating from experience. Also, we have Sharon today. She's done design work in private sectors for years, consumer apps to complex systems. So she moved into defense, which I think is a very bold move into a space, you know, where the culture, the domain, the environment can just be very different from what she's used to. We also will let her explain more in detail.
So let's rewind a little. So before CSIT, before defense, how did you even get into design in the first place?
Hello, I'm Dionne. I never studied design formally, but I did sociology in university. Right after I graduated, actually I'm an analyst in MINDEF first, but I think there was always some doubt at the back of my mind. And then somehow COVID came along, and I think that whole period I seriously reevaluated my career. Then my Instagram pushed me a few UX design ads, and I took out a few courses to explore first. And I really enjoyed working on the projects. Then I decided it was worth a try to transit to design.
Which course do you go for?
I took Scrum courses, then I took product owner courses also. Then to be honest, my design course is not really a boot camp per se. I found a course that was offered by, I don't know, I think she was a startup founder of this place called Bantu. And she offered a design course. So it no longer exists. But this lady is now a lecturer at SP lah. Yeah, it was not too bad. I felt like we really got to do the whole end-to-end design process, but just like one project.
I'm just curious, like, what was it that made you want to reevaluate your career during COVID period?
Wow. I felt like before COVID, actually, I think I was already having a bit of like doubt, like whether this is the right way to go. And then, like when COVID happened, it's like a lot of things you can't do. And then I think it just gave me a lot of time and space to rethink what I really wanted to do.
Catalyst.
Yeah, it was a catalyst.
And then you fell for the advertisements.
Yes, I did.
Fell.
Okay, to be fair, there were other advertisements then also, like data science and data analysis. It was pretty popular then also. But I think from my previous work experience, I had done a bit of like data analytics and stuff. I wasn't sure I wanted to go like super deep into it. So UX design seemed a bit more attractive to me. So that's how I somehow went into that direction.
Sharon, how about you?
Hello, I'm Sharon. I mean, since Dionne said hi, so for me, I actually got into design through studying industrial design in uni. But after graduating, I took a bit of a detour into furniture design for a couple of months. It wasn't planned, but I think at the point, because I was kind of like shifting house, so I think I got a bit curious from getting caught up with the Renault talk and just decided to follow an opportunity that popped up. Then after that detour, not long after, I came across a job listing for a mid-weight product design role at Book. I think UI UX was a totally new term to me. We didn't really cover it at school, and it was like, I didn't know that this field existed, but I think it caught my interest, and I did a bit of reading, decided to explore that path. And luckily, they said yes, so that turned into 5 amazing years as a product designer, thanks to the interesting clients that I've met, and the amazing colleagues and the great mentors that I had the chance to learn from.
I think a good thing about studying design is, there's this foundation that can be applied across, regardless of industrial, furniture, or right now where you're at product design.
Yeah, the human-centered component is.
Basically, Sharon, you have a similar background to Xuan. Xuan, you also was in industrial, right?
Yes, she's my senior.
We learned from our tech run that I'm her senior.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm older .
Okay, auntie.
Yeah, I'm an auntie. I think we probably rubbed shoulders in the studio, like back in NUS.
Yeah, before they did the Renault.
Yeah.
We were still sleeping in the sleeping bags on the floor. And
Yeah.
How much you all have to camp inside sleeping bags?
Yeah, people set up tents in hammocks.
But why?
Why?
Do they have to stay back or what?
Yeah, because a lot of times you just have to burn midnight oil
I
to
see.
finish up.
No wonder.
And a lot is dependent on the standard in the course. Like if you see others are pushing hard, then
Bell curve, right?
correct. Yeah. So there's this sense of like
I want to make sure that I catch up or like at least be on par with the rest.
yeah.
I see.
But it makes for good memories, I think. It's so unique.
Obviously, youth days.
Yeah, because it's industrial design work. So there are times in the past where people just go into a workshop past midnight, still feeling a bit groggy from the lack of sleep, and then accidents happen. I'm not sure about your... Yeah, like because you work with machines.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Okay. Dangerous, eh?
Yeah, it is a pretty crazy place, I would say. But also makes for good memories, as Sharon said.
Oh, I don't know whether I should add, but I'm pretty sure UI UX is in the syllabus now. But I mean, it's just at that point, it wasn't really that part of the syllabus, yeah.
I would imagine they would.
Even during my period, people have already started to use app design. We don't really call it UI UX, but app is a part of the solution to some of our modules. And also, I would add, back in the days, doing app design is almost frowned upon because the students may think that interface design is easier.
The easy way out.
Okay, back to the topic. We are also curious, how do you eventually find your way working within MINDEF?
Someone reached out to me on LinkedIn and I thought that he was going to be a potential client. So I agreed to meet him. As he started sharing more, I was like, oh, this is like a...
Then he pulled out his iPad.
Then when I went back to office, I was like, they weren't looking to work with us.
But was it disguised?
Not really. I guess it was just ambiguous. So, but I interpreted it that way as a potential client. Yeah.
So she was very positive of him. And it turned out to be an opportunity, which is a good thing. So anyway.
This story feels like it can also go another route.
Yeah, that's why.
Something blossomed.
Oh, no. I mean, sure, we met in a public space, many people. I want to get kidnapped and stuff.
Okay, and then what you thought was a client turned out to be a headhunter and introduced you to CSIT.
Yeah. So that was how I knew that there was an opening there. Learned a bit of the role, what to expect.
And where's the guy now? Sorry, just kidding. Very interested in the guy.
Trend, behave.
Sorry, maintain. How about you, Dionne?
Previously I already said I was in MINDEF, right? So I think through my networks, I kind of discovered that CSIT was hiring. So I just applied for a role. I think it was very lucky for me because it just so happened that CSIT was starting to build up the design unit. When I interviewed with them, there were only 4 designers. And then my own previous experience in MINDEF probably played in my favor. Yeah, so I'm very thankful that the hiring manager then decided to give me a chance with my very bare portfolio. Yes.
But it's also feel nice, right? As you're part of the OG.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to see the startings of it. It is very exciting.
How much has the team grown since then?
Now we have, 9, right, Sharon?
I usually check the Telegram number.
They are checking their Telegram right now, by the way. They are both looking at their phones.
One of our designers is on no pay leave now. Yeah, so if I counted her, it would have been 9, yes.
Since now we know a bit more about your background, how you transitioned to defense. So maybe you can give us an idea on what do you work on? Are they web or mobile apps or service? Or are they interfaces for other types of devices? Are they public facing or completely confidential?
Do you do research all the way to delivery? Where is the guy right now? As you can tell, we have a lot of questions of your life in CSIT.
So we serve defense operations, but CSIT has other parts. Our design team actually, we don't just work on defense ops systems. Actually, some of us get to work in more corporate HR and finance applications. Yeah, so and then actually some teams have started incorporating AI into their products. So I mean, if you are one of the designers in those teams, you get to work on that space, and that can be pretty exciting.
Majority is web applications and they're all not for public, all internal use, including those that serve the whole of government. For me, it's mainly for our CSIT users. For one of the projects that I'm working on, that one's I think more web based. Then there's another one which I'm working with another designer, but that one is a bit more to serve the whole of government, meaning of a certain seniority across the government. Yeah, that will be what they use. I would think that there are some similarities with working in enterprise companies. For example, the workflows are complex and we deal with a lot of data heavy projects. And because of that, you might have workflows straddling different teams who are working on the same system, but the system is just so huge, that's why you have to work with each other. In terms of stakeholder management, having to also deal with multiple departments with different priorities. So we have a wide spectrum of users, easily accessible ones to those that are not accessible at all. And then you need to find proxies because of that. So you get a taste of doing research for different kinds of user base.
Sounds a bit overlap with project management also. You need to
yes.
find the people to speak to. Sometimes the people to speak to the people.
Yeah, yes. I think a lot of people dynamics here, definitely. Difficulty from the external stakeholder management point of view was when this product actually could be used by different user groups, but they all had similar overarching goal, but they also preferred to stick to their the quirks of their immediate team, for example. So the challenge was, I think, figure out how to bring them on board to use this product, and the product had to be flexible also. So it had to be very hands-on, leaning forward to help with that process and change management work across the user groups.
It does sound like your work requires a lot of communicating and convincing people about the change or the improvement that you want them to experience.
I guess enterprise law, right? You have people who are maybe who've been using the same thing, doing the same thing for 15 over years. It will take a while for them to slowly.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because I've had experience where people, they're so used to using such a bad software that they have a workaround it. They have a shortcut that they have developed by themselves, and they're so proud of it. This is what I've been doing for many years. And then when you try to change their habits, try to change how they do things, actually your way is much faster, but they just don't want to believe you. So to them it's no, I know better. I've been using this software like this, and they resist the change.
I think a lot of designers listening will be nodding right now. Yeah. I think it's just the muscle memory that has been developed over time by the users, right? So familiarity and whether a design is good or not is very different. Like the design can be pretty bad to designers, but users have been familiar with the bad design already. And when you come in hoping to change things, thinking that, I'm improving the lives of the experiences of the users, but some users are just more used to the familiarity of it. They don't care if the design is crappy according to you, you know?
It's like, don't break my workflows.
Correct.
Yeah.
They don't think it's broken.
Yeah, I think it would be a skill or like years of experience to figure out, like, early on, like, is this that kind of problem? Then it would help to tailor the way you, I guess, engage them and plan out the roadmap.
How about Dionne?
For me, I'm mostly working on a product for internal use. So far, I've worked on 2 products that are more focused on like knowledge management and like a search tool. Yeah, and it's on the web lah.
Were you there from 0 to 1 minute?
I think both of the products that I've worked on were pretty established, but one of them was maybe more about developing a additional module. So there is still some discovery work involved, but it's not like super deep, I would say. Then there was another one which actually the product already existed, but they were trying to consolidate existing legacy systems. So that whole space is actually pretty stable, but we still tried to push a bit more, like do usability testing and all that to see how we could improve.
Can you tell us a bit more of a project or the design that you are particularly proud of?
Okay, the project that I'll talk about it's a collaborative KM platform that is plugged into our end users' work processes.
Can I know like what does KM stand for?
Oh, sorry, knowledge management. So
Okay.
kind of like Notion, Confluence, all these tools that you type in a lot of data to store and manage your knowledge. I think the goal for the product is that it will help them connect the dots to spark insights, some things they did not see as related before. So my role in the product development was, it started with the design research, like in the problem space, figure out what's the problem by understanding their current work processes and their user goals, their pain points, and also like some peripheral context to understand why was this their work process. For example, like the policies and structures that actually influence all these lah. Then it continued on to visual and interaction design beats, like when I was conceptualizing solutions before jumping back into design research to evaluate those solutions with the users. So we did this from like different scale, from like the broad workflow scale to high fidelity when we had the interfaces such as like working with data tables. I think not to forget, in this project there was also a lot of wrangling with my PM on the areas they wanted to play in, what we wanted to be good enough, should we scope what is considered the MVP, what was sufficient for users for the first milestone, and also being able to help my PM with stakeholder engagement. So actually we have something like our in-house very scaled down version of like a tech product conference, being able to present, talk to users who come to that conference to get some feedback and also like share what's coming up.
You mean like a showcase? Like setting up booth and people coming and just showing, and this is what we have.
Yes.
What makes you proud in the project?
I guess working with some of the people in the team really cared. Like, we would get into really intense discussions because we cared about what we wanted to deliver, improving the user's life, about delivering something that's worthwhile lah. And then I go to the washroom, then I come back, then I ask my PM. I think that was a bit heated, but no offense, right? Yeah, so I think like through all this, to me I count it as a success lah, because several months after we had our launch, the user group that we were targeting, they continued to use it even though there was still some stability issues with the system. Yeah, and they had like their existing platforms like Confluence to fall back on, but they continue using it. Yeah, so as in not saying that it's perfect, but I think it's a nice small little marker of success. Yeah.
I think it's always nice to know that people are using the product that you pour your heart into, and people proactively giving feedback as well. Dionne, how about you?
Okay, I mentioned the knowledge management tool earlier for multiple user groups to store and search their data. So actually this knowledge management tool is used by various user community groups. So it's all plugged into their work. Like the initial start stage is they all have to like store the data, But then how they use this data might differ after that, because there are different user groups after all. My role in the development of this product was to help the product team like conceptualize the design solutions that can meet both their business requirements and also like the user needs. For me, I remember like it was quite a long process, but there was one period where we spent a lot of time iterating on the form design for a particular feature. So I sat through like multiple design critiques with the engineers and PMs, and we discussed a lot of edge cases because we really wanted that feature to be feasible and scalable in the long run. Yeah, so that was really the validating the design and then going to the users and check whether it was okay. Yeah, then subsequently, as we moved closer to like the launch of the product, there was still a lot of like stakeholder engagement on the mock-ups, whether it was okay, then supporting the PM's onboarding. Because it's an enterprise product, but something else existed before that. So as you all know, like there's like some change management involved. So we kind of had to explain like our thought process and what we wanted to do. And then I have to like update user guides as well, because there's too many user groups. It's very hard for us to really like get everyone in the same place. So documenting it down is usually much easier than we just direct them to the space subsequently. I am personally very proud because one of the key things that I think we kind of always struggle was data discoverability of all of this data, but enabling secure collaboration among different user groups. Yeah, so this whole part actually increases the design and engineering complexity. So we had to work really closely to iron out certain issues. And then when I do user research, it's about navigating that space of, I kind of really know that the engineering team don't want to go into this direction because it's going to be very costly. So I kind of have to anticipate like where are the areas of friction, and then you kind of like re-engineer the research scope to focus on a certain space. Yeah, then you help them gather insights to help them like move forward.
Sounds like a lot of tension that you have to handle. How do you ensure good design but do not burn the engineers?
Yeah, it's really like they're on that spectrum of like you want people to discover, to let them do stuff, but different user groups cannot see certain things. So that's the part that's like a bit tricky. Yeah, so we kind of have to like sit down with the relevant people and kind of iron that out first. Yeah, but I'm very thankful that for this particular project I got to work with very good teammates. I think everyone knew the challenge, but they still really wanted to do right by the users, and I think they also put in a lot of effort. Yeah, and then recently we received a direct thank you message from the user. Aww. And I was like, it's like the moment of like it's all it's really like, okay, we rushed through this and like we did all of this. Yes, it's worth it. We made their lives a little better. It's good enough. Yeah. I think that's the part that is like very valuable to the team to be able to see like you've built something and
someone actually cared.
So someone cared to like send that message to us.
Sounds really nice.
Yeah, agree. Aww. It's always nice to hear feedback from like your actual users.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing with us your project as well. And it reveals a lot about, your day-to-day working life.
We want to know also, following up from that question just now, right? What does it feel like working in cyber defense?
Maybe I go into like the tools first, because I think that's a common question that when we meet other design folks, we were like, so what can you all like use? So I guess I will just say that we kind of need to largely rely on open source tools first, because of the data that we do is quite sensitive. So we really can't use the cloud-based design tools, maybe such as Figma, as much as we like. Yeah, but we do have a few designers that use Figma. It's just that depending on the project sensitivity, they need to sanitize the data a bit. But like I mentioned, the open source tools that we most of the time might tap on are Lunacy, Penpot, Draw.io, and there's good old PowerPoint.
Hey, PowerPoint can make interface too.
It's back to basics.
Yes.
Yeah.
But have you guys ever felt like, if only I can use Figma for this? Like I learned this specific technique on Figma, but I cannot implement it using this alternative.
Especially when now Figma just released a new AI tool.
I will let Sharon.
Wow, Tai Chi to Sharon.
Because she has more experience using Figma. I really just like, I went in, I was like, okay, this is what you have. You just deal with it.
I just adapt.
Yeah, you just adapt.
Yeah, I guess I felt the pain more because I experienced life using Sketch and Figma. And
Damn.
yes. Okay, for period we actually could still use Sketch, so like it wasn't that bad. Then I think for one of the projects I just started using PowerPoint. I think my PowerPoint skills has improved. I even made like a walkthrough, almost like a video. I was moving and then click and then I
Oh,
think
wow.
Animation skills.
Amazing.
that probably comes across as a bit backward, but I think there's also beauty in having limitations and constraints because it forces us to get very, I guess, creative to achieve the quality design work. The goal is still the same. We can still do it and do it well by operating from first principles. So because of this setup, we really learn and discover what matters for each piece of work that we're doing. And the tools are really there as tools to help us figure out the product value to deliver and deliver it well.
Just so you know, recently in my work, I also decided to use Google Sheet to do the prototype because just realized it's the easiest way to create very conditional designs. So yeah, I agree that sometimes you don't need very sophisticated tools in your work. Hey, sorry, I'm also curious. So when you go to your office, do you need to go through like some security checks? Because I had a friend also who worked in a government agency, and then she had to surrender her personal phone, before going into the office. So I wonder if there's similar, security measures.
Yes. Your phones actually you can bring in if you scrape the camera.
Scrape?
Yeah, like as in you, so you cannot take like a photo.
What? Sorry, again, what?
Basically, they need the assurance that you cannot take photos.
Oh, okay.
That transparent thing that covers your
Yeah.
camera. That one sandblasted.
Sandblasted. I forgot the term.
Wait, they sandblast the camera of your personal phone?
So people have like a second phone, like they have it like maybe they buy a
They
cheaper
bring
one.
two, so they have a proper one and then they bring in the sandblasted one if they want to use the phone in office.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's like daily for us lah.
Do you need to do the, you need to like stand with your arms out and then they do the scanner thing?
No, it's like airport. You just walk through the
Scanner,
the
the body
scanner,
scanner
yeah.
thing.
It's like a gate.
Yeah.
That means right, at work, you cannot take a selfie lah.
Pretty much.
You cannot do a day in my life.
Oh yeah, you can't do that.
Cannot.
Yeah.
Because like in my previous company, every time we meet clients or we have meetings, then we draw on the board, then we just take photo, then we just like put it in and that's the notes.
Yes, airdrop.
Yeah. But we can't do that here lah.
Okay.
Got it.
It just sounds like the security is very strict. So you're gotten used to it as well.
Yeah, I'm very used to it. But the good thing is, sometimes when you have your phone, you might get distracted. Oh, but just to say, I have internet laptops in the office. And then if really I need to take calls, I will just forward the phone call to my office extension. So I'm not completely uncontactable. Yeah.
It's a mystery, such a mystery.
Interesting.
Just like the guy that Sharon. Okay, so,
Wow, she hasn't forgotten the guy.
okay.
I need to put a stop there by saying that he's a married, quite senior man of age.
Okay, thank you for painting more detail about this guy.
But because I think people think like we are a MINDEF agency, then most people will think of like army.
Army.
Yeah, I think most people just think of army when you say MINDEF. And they were like, no, we are civilian agents. Most of our folks dress pretty casually.
All designers must fall in.
Your design wrong, you knock it down.
PT,
10 push-ups, everybody.
run 10 rounds. So yeah, I think it's really like any other job. Pretty casual. I mean, I don't have to call my bosses by like some rank or whatever. I just call them by their names. Yeah. And then maybe one thing this would be interesting. I'm really not sure. I feel like because we cannot share our work in detail with friends or family, I sometimes feel like a stronger bond with my teammates and colleagues because sometimes you have bad days at work and then you just need to vent and like complain. Then you give context, right?
Yeah.
Then I cannot tell friends and family, so I tell my colleagues. And then when I leave the office, I don't bring, I guess, some parts of that back home. So there's like a clearer boundary drawn between work and my personal life. Yeah, and then some of these teammates / colleagues, like we also like bond stronger, and like we become friends and we hang out ourselves as well.
Wow. Why does it feel a bit like severance to me?
You want to experience it?
I think that's the way it should be lah. Like, don't bring home work.
Actually, that's right, huh? It feels like because there's such a clear demarcation between work and life. It's like it will never seep into your life. Like once you step out of that security scanner, then it's like, I'm a
free soul.
I'm a similar Dionne right now.
Yeah. So we've heard about the cool projects and challenges, and you might be thinking, hey, this sounds interesting. Could I qualify to design for defense? Do I have what it takes?
And also defense design may seem like a whole new world. So it's not your typical like corporate job, there's security structure and definitely a lot of collaboration as mentioned by Dionne and Sharon just now with different teams. So what kind of a person is actually suited for this kind of work as well?
For me, I think I'll answer this question like in comparison with my experience in a smaller consultancy lah. I think working in defense within the government has highlighted this few qualities. For example, strong collaboration skill, a keen awareness for organizational structures also to know who to engage, who to influence, help you with your product and making it a success. And also patience because it takes time to talk to many people, and also like someone with some degree of intrinsic motivation to keep you going, an ability to thrive in a structured environment. Also at the end of the day, it's about being part of the civil service. So like ideally you are someone who believes in the larger national defense mission, like giving back.
I think there is definitely some challenge and complexity, but it doesn't mean like you can't learn within the industry lah. So I think really you just need to bring a very maybe curious mindset to learn. I think it's good enough. I guess the other good thing is there is work-life balance and stability. Like I mentioned earlier, because the work remains accessible only at work. So most of the time there's a clear boundary drawn once I get off work. But sorry, there are some projects on Figma, so you can still to work. Yeah, so I usually can enjoy my off days properly without having to worry. So that's a good thing.
That sounds great.
Yeah, like weekends, holiday, okay, don't need to think about work. Yeah. Then I think the other part is maybe I think you just need to be able to exercise discretion in public and even in your online presence because we try to maintain some confidentiality for work. So that's the other part.
Cool. So if you check any of the boxes or all of the boxes that Sharon and Dionne has mentioned, yeah, it sounds like you could be the next designer working in defense.
So what is the interview process like?
It will probably be a series of 3 interviews. First one with the design team, where we'll evaluate your design skills. So mostly we'll do a portfolio deep dive with possibly a super short whiteboarding if needed to cover some areas of how you might approach a design problem lah. Then after that, you have another hour with the product and engineering people. And then the last interview will be to ensure organizational fit, such as values and stuff like that.
All right. So as usual, we have asked you, our amazing followers on our Instagram, for some spicy, very burning questions for both Sharon and Dionne. And you did not disappoint, guys. Thank you. So let's dive into them. Okay, so the first question: what's something most designers take for granted that you can't use?
Yeah, beyond Figma, things like taking photos of notes and stuff, you can't use that. And recording devices for user research. So that's one thing that, if you're outside, but the good thing is, I think for us, we kind of become adept at listening and scribbling quickly. We rely a lot on pen and paper to take notes.
Yeah, it's not that bad lah. Because for me, I can bring in my laptop. Yeah, so my typing speed is quite fast now.
Okay, next question. Working at MINDEF means no Figma. Missing out on its new features. Thoughts?
Firstly, not true. Yeah, so I think about at least half of us are using Figma for the projects that we have lah. Myself included. But for those who cannot, I would think that they would need the Figma's functionalities that make iterating, prototyping and testing of those products much faster. For example, me doing the user workflow on PowerPoint versus just drawing those noodles and not having to draw so many now because there's like variants and variables to make the prototyping so much faster. Okay, with regards to Config's new features, we're actually having a Creative Friday session later, right after this call.
Ooh.
And we're going to try some of the AI tools out there and like how we might use it for our design process. Maybe more for the discovering side, more divergent design activities. Yeah.
Okay. So the next two questions that we have from our followers. What's the stupidest or craziest thing you have encountered while designing for MINDEF?
I'm a designer, so I should always be empathetic. Kidding. Not stupid or crazy, but legacy systems are pretty common. And then I think attached to all of those legacy systems, like what you all alluded earlier, is there's a lot of complex user journeys. Sometimes people are very attached to certain workflows. I think visualizing those and breaking it down can take effort. I've seen very complex workflows. Like it takes me more than a minute to understand.
Register.
Yeah, to register and absorb everything. It just takes quite a while to break it all down.
How about Sharon?
For me, I have something, but I'm not sure if it technically counts as an experience designing for MINDEF lah. But if you're talking about crazy things, I think my hiring experience easily makes the top 5. It's because it took almost a year. I like to joke now that it takes longer than one takes to give birth. But I would say that this was several years ago, and from what I hear, the hiring process is made way faster now, so fret not. No more pregnancy waits.
Our last question. So in terms of like creating portfolios, right? How do you guys approach your portfolio given all the classified work that you have to do? Especially you have NDA work, and then maybe some of it may be public, but some of it's mostly maybe private. Yeah. So what do you do? Have you been given advice on how to tackle this?
To be honest, I haven't started proper on my portfolio with all the classified work. I have some idea. As in, I think it's really going back to the initial problem or that project that you were working on. Then maybe it's like explaining how you tackle it and like managing the constraints without going into so much data. I'm not sure.
I guess one way is to just change it into dummy data.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's one way. Yeah.
I also haven't thought about it, but I guess if I had to, I might use analogy or completely change the whole context lah. Like maybe finding the closest adjacent. So earlier on we mentioned about how like maybe there are some external products that are quite similar. So using those references or context like KM tools. But the main point is probably highlighting the problem because I want to show that, how did I approach the problem? Then if the problem is about stakeholders, then I think that should be fine. I don't need to talk about like who it was, but like there was like cultural, like historical baggage, then how did we like overcome that? Then I think it's not very sensitive lah.
I have a question as well. I think you all kind of alluded to it just now, but at least to me, like I feel like working in defense can be a little secretive. So can you enlighten us as to why?
Actually, I think it's not much different. Like I think from the secrecy that I would imagine you have in big tech companies who want to like protect their intellectual property lah. Yeah, I get. Then the difference would be while these companies guard their secrets to stay ahead of the market, for us it's actually for national security law.
Stakes are higher.
Yeah, and so like the public might have the perception that design in defense might be a bit siloed also, and hold up of the design community. Maybe that's why you find it secretive. But I think fun fact that we also have like the opportunity to network and contribute within the defense technology community lah. Actually, if anyone's interested, you can go to CSIT's LinkedIn account. We have a recent post about one of the conference.
We are looking at it right now. It's a conference called Odyssey, and it's a first ever defense tech design meetup. Wow. Can you talk more about that?
Pretty much similar to other meetups, just that it's only open to actually people who are working in the defense companies lah.
What are the defense companies in Singapore?
Oh,
DSTA, DSO. I think there were also people from HTX.
Oh, Home Teen Science and Tech Agency.
Yeah. This particular session was the very first one. So it was organized by DSTA. It was about the products that they've like worked on. I think one of it was design system.
Yeah, then there's an upcoming one. It's called Navigating Complexity in Defense Design. One will be a sharing by someone from DST, and then after that it's like more of a breakout and like a bit more guided, facilitated smaller group session like about sharing challenges and just seeking ideas to address those challenges.
Yeah, that's nice. At least an event to bring people working on the same space together.
Yeah, and surprisingly, like the size of the community is not that small. I think we have around like 50 to 60 members. I mean, if I'm just counting the number, the number in
The Telegram again.
Yeah. They created the community. Then there's a Telegram chat. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. And that is our wrap on today's episode. Huge thanks to Dionne and Sharon for giving us, the very rare peek into what it's like designing in MINDEF, and hope you two had fun. Also, we want to take this chance to thank Shi Yun, who helped us to pull Dionne, Sharon, CSIT team together with us, KSDL. So thank you, Shi Yun, for making this episode happen for us. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yay, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks to you guys for inviting us and having this conversation. It was really fun.
No problem at all.
And I think we want to end with a shameless plug for our design team exchange and career opportunities at CSIT. So if any design folks out there listening are interested in having exchange, please reach out to me and Sharon on LinkedIn. And if anyone's interested in being colleagues with Sharon and I, and Shirin, we are still hiring. So please don't be shy and apply. Yeah.
Their LinkedIn will also be in our show notes as well, along with all the LinkedIn posts that they mentioned prior.
It's easy to forget that behind every secure system, there are designers making complex things useful and meaningful. So we hope that this episode enlightened all of you.
Yeah, it sure did for me.
Yeah.
So designing defense may not be public facing, but it is people focused. Alright, so once again, thank you for listening to Kiasu Design Live, and hope 2025 is treating you well so far. See you next time. Bye.